Hey guys, it's Chelsa Messenger with Picks and Parlays. We're talking college hoops. Headed to the Big Ten, where Iowa is facing off with Michigan State.
We've got a promo code. The code is LOVE for 20% off the entire site at picksandparlays.net.
Iowa favored on the road here, -5.5. Total of 152.5. Iowa 14-6 on the year, 11-9 against the number. Meanwhile, Michigan State 10-7, but just 4-13 against the spread. One of the worst teams to bet on when it comes to college football over the course of the season. And looking at these two teams, they're both the tale of when they're at home and when they're away. Iowa 11-2 at home, 3-3 away. Michigan State 8-2 at home, and 2-5 on the road. And that's kind of been the case for a lot of college basketball teams. That's kind of what stands out to me here, obviously, other than the terrible against the spread numbers for Michigan State. We've got Lee from ASA joining us. Lee, what stands out to you about these two teams?
Well, they just met February 2nd with Iowa winning at home by 6. They were a 9-point favorite in that game. So I don't feel the odds makers have adjusted this number enough to 5.5 now on the road. Michigan State literally was covering that game from start to finish. They led by as many as 11 points at one point. They were within 2 points late. Bohannon made a couple free throws for Iowa to seal the win. Michigan State shot just 40% compared to 50% for Iowa, and the Hawkeyes were plus 13 in free throws. So, a definite home court advantage there. But I kind of see Iowa regressing here a little bit after their hot start. They have lost 4 of their last 6 games. They've lost 3 road games, as you mentioned, not very good on the road. They've lost at Minnesota, Illinois, and Indiana already this season. Michigan State 4-7, like you mentioned, in the Big Ten play this year. They have won 2 straight against Penn State and Nebraska. Nebraska obviously is not that good. Their 2 home losses this year in Big Ten play were to a very good Wisconsin team and Purdue, and Michigan State was favored in both those games. The Spartans are 149-24 straight up at home since 2010. And they've been a home dog just 3 times in that span. Their average differential in those games, plus 16.5 points per game. So granted, this is a different era now with COVID. There's not fans in the stadium and things like that. But I don't think you can ignore those numbers for the Spartans.
Yeah, and that's kind of an anomaly because you think this year we would see less discrepancy between home and away records, but it's really not the case. As I stated in the intro, we see in a lot of these teams that's kind of the case where they're very different at home as opposed to on the road. And Iowa, their defense has been the problem. They can shoot the lights out at times, and they've got this high-flying offense averaging all these points. Let's see, 87 points per game, which is actually down. At the start of the year, they were averaging north of 90 points a game. So another question I'd have is, do you think this Michigan State offense can keep up with this Iowa offense?
It's kind of a contrary to both teams, right? Michigan State plays better defense. They're 5th in the Big Ten in defensive efficiency. Iowa has the number 1 ranked offensive efficiency numbers in the nation, and of course the Big Ten. But as you mentioned, Iowa's defensive efficiency numbers, they're 13th in the Big Ten. So even though Michigan State is down below that in their offensive efficiency numbers, 13th, second to last in the Big Ten Conference, I do think there would be a big enough offset there. And like I say, I don't think that's been factored in enough into this number. Going from a 9-point home favorite to a 5.5-point road favorite just doesn't seem like enough of an adjustment for me by Vegas.
Right, and I'm trying to find Iowa on the defensive efficiency rankings on KenPom, and I can't even find them. They must be so far down because they're towards the top when it comes to the offense. Anything else you think bettors should be aware of before betting on this one?
It's a game that I would tread lightly on just because this is one of the worst Izzo coach teams that Michigan State has had in years. But Big Ten teams this year have won 63% of the time. So it's always been favorable to play on Big Ten teams, especially Big Ten home underdogs. But, it's definitely not the Michigan State teams we've seen in the past. So I would tread lightly here if I was a bettor.
Right. Even though Iowa 1-5 against the number in their last 6 games, and the Big Ten, they have so many teams that seem to be good this year. Probably one of the deepest conferences when it comes to college basketball. So I think on any given night, you've got to at least take a long, hard look at some of these dogs in the Big Ten. But that's going to wrap it up for our college hoops talk here on Picks and Parlays, not the Big Ten. As always, great stuff from Lee from ASA. Lee, thanks for joining us.